time to change our approach. It's time to end the era of mass incarceration. We need a true national debate about how to reduce our prison population while keeping our communities safe. I don't know all the answers. That's why I'm here, to ask all the smart people at Columbia and in New York to start thinking this through with me.
Ooh, isn't that special? Joining us now, folks, is John Lott Jr., president of Crime Prevention Research Center and a blogger at johnrlott.blogspot.com. John, you wrote a great piece for the Daily News, Hillary Clinton's dishonest crime dodge. Her Columbia speech betrays a failure to understand the forces that have made Americans safer. Before we undertook what happened in your own husband's administration back in the early 90s, the crime rate was twice what it is now. And I think we're talking about the murder rate specifically, right?
Right. Well, in 1991, the murder rate was about 120% higher than it is now. So it's been a dramatic decline. And, I think it's pretty clear that most researchers believe that increased arrest rates, increased conviction rates, and longer prison sentences have all played an important role in doing that.
So when she stands there and says, I don't know, I don't know the answers, and we know the answer, what's being done and what has been done for the last 20 plus years is working.
Right. Well, I mean, she may have said at one point that she doesn't know the answers, but then her talk was filled with lots of claims that she was making. So she was thinking that we could cut the number of people in prison by half, and that it would have no real impact on the crime rates that were there. She was making claims that we could accomplish that huge reduction in the percentage of people in prison just by making it so we weren't arresting people for low-level drug offenses. And that's just ridiculous. Even if you eliminated all drug possession charges for heroin and everything else for all state and federal prisons, it would be something around 6% of the prison population that you could release. Only if you got rid of all trafficking offenses for cocaine and heroin and everything else could you reduce the prison population by near 20%. But, to go and talk about, marijuana, which is kind of what she was talking about there. I mean, in most states, if you're just talking about possession, you're talking about tenths of 1 percentage point. Even if you include trafficking for marijuana, you're still talking about 1 percentage point or less of the prison population.
You talk in your piece about how punishment matters, and New York State, a state that she was a senator from, even though she and she still lives in now. You say it's not a coincidence that violent crimes fell by 60% from 1990 to 2010. I mean, and to stand there and say we have a problem because too many people are in prison just flies in the face of common sense.
Right. Well, I mean, she makes claims about how it destroys families to lock people up in prison, for breaking parole rules, for example. Well, I mean, it damages families to have people locked up to begin with when they first commit crimes. I mean, nobody wants to just lock up people in prison.
And it damages, and John, it damages families when people are victims of crimes too. Let me ask you, C-SPAN. You were on C-SPAN. They were doing an hour on these types of topics, and you wanted. The plan was, I think, to debate someone from Bloomberg, and they wouldn't come on with you, so they gave you each a half hour instead. Talk about that and who it was.
Right. Well, I mean, it happens time after time. This was just the latest example, but Bloomberg's Everytown just refuses to actually be one-on-one to debate. In this case, we were on Washington Journal, and the Bloomberg people said, their research director, Ted Alcorn, said that he wouldn't appear with me. He would only appear after me so that he could go and listen to what I had to say first and be able to go and respond to it. And in this case, it was unusual because the producer for C-SPAN actually encouraged me during the half hour I had to go and raise the point that he refused to debate. I can't tell you the number of times I've been on shows from CNN or MSNBC or other places where I'll be actually in a car going to the studio, and I'll get a call back from the producer saying, well, We just talked to the Bloomberg people, and they insist that they be on the show by themselves.
Well, let me ask you, are they afraid of you?
You know, you have to listen. I sent you the link for the Washington Journal, and people can find it by going to our website at crimeresearch.org. But, you know, they say that they'll debate serious people who are not going to minimize gun violence. And basically, you listen to them, it sounds like they'll debate people who agree with them on the issues.
All right. So, hey, if we could get you both on this show, would you do it?
I love it.
All right.
I'll be on in a second.
All right. So we issue the challenge. We'll see what we could do. John, thank you, sir. Give Me 5 is next. Don't go away.